Hey, Cubs fans, and welcome to another edition of Cubs on Tap. I'm your host, Nick Hudson, joined by Joey Ricotta, Bobby Foster, Rich Everwine. How are you doing tonight, man? And boys, and all of the above.
Good.
Man and boys. I think I'm like 75% recovered from the game
Yeah,
five loss. Um, need a
I would,
few more days. Like once we get to the 1 week point, I think I'll be fully recovered. But uh,
yeah,
we're getting better. Things are getting better. It helps that the Brewers are down 0-2 in the NLCS. So things are looking a little bit up. We're stepping in the right direction here.
I agree. That has contributed to my percentage going up as well, as watching the Brewers lose to the Dodgers. But I'm not fully there either. I'm about at 75% as well. Joey, how are you doing after the painful season ending?
You know, um, I said it even the night that it happened. I wasn't mad. I was sad, obviously, but I wasn't mad. Because I feel like they did better than what I thought they were gonna do this year, anyways. But I'm kind of like in the same boat as Rich. I'm drinking only water because I'm just trying to recover. So yeah, maybe I'm probably closer to like 90% recovered. Maybe if I were to put a percentage on it, because the Bears help with some of that too. So yeah, I
True.
don't I don't really want to
Yeah,
just go straight to football. Yeah, like Scott said, yeah, Bears
Scott
soften
said,
the blow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And Bobby, out of everyone here, I would say you were the most pessimistic going into this playoff series. We had a show where you said this is the least enthused I've been. And, the Cubs, to their
Yeah.
credit, they did give you something to cheer about at the very least. But how
I
are you
mean,
doing?
uh, I'm disappointed. They had me in the first half, not gonna lie, when it comes to that supposed comeback in the Milwaukee series. I didn't think they would win game five, but I also didn't think they would roll over and just die the way that they did. So that's I'm more angry about. Um, at least you could have gave me more of a fight. You could have went down to the last pitch, last inning, but no, it was pretty much dead going into the fourth or fifth inning when that rally they had and Tucker just rolled over and died. So
Yeah. Tucker, that was where I lost my mind. I don't know about you guys, but when it was first and second, nobody out, and Tucker just couldn't work it, just couldn't do anything at
Three
all.
3-1 count,
Yeah,
fastball right
yeah,
down the middle,
right down the.
whiffs.
I lost my
Yeah,
mind. I really did.
that was like when the game was basically over.
Yeah,
Right
that's
down
what
the
I
fucking
also
middle.
said it too. Yeah, it was when you saw that this offense was that offense that has bit them in the ass all season long, especially the second half, where they just disappear and they don't even look like themselves. They don't even have any semblance of plate approach, grinding out pitch, nothing. It just went by the wayside. Even worse off is Milwaukee really had to piece it together with the pitchers, and they still couldn't do anything or put up a fight. I agree with you, Bobby. They looked just very dead. That last game is going to haunt us for quite some time. We don't want to spend too much time on it, but it hurt for sure.
At least they made the series interesting. At least they tied it up,
Yeah.
forced a game five. They didn't get swept. We got two awesome games at Wrigley. Um, that's what I take away from it. At least it wasn't like just a complete embarrassment. Um, yeah, but yeah, that game five, like you guys were saying, is we've seen that game a million times. It was just gut wrenching and long and soul sucking. The game felt like it was 5 hours. So I don't know. Whatever. Fuck Milwaukee. They're gonna lose to the Dodgers anyway, so they'll get theirs.
Exactly. I think we may have taken a chunk out of them on the broadcast with this Dodgers Milwaukee series. They've mentioned a few times that they really had to go the distance with the Cubs, and that might be why, this pitcher or that pitcher looks a little bit off. I mean, they did have to use a lot of their bullets in that series, that's for sure.
Yeah, they didn't set themselves up the greatest for this next series.
No.
You only have to face Glass now and Otani in Los Angeles in the next 2 games. So have
Mhm.
fun with that.
Yamamoto
Exactly.
was a freak the other night too.
Oh my God. Complete game.
They
one
made
run.
them look that way. Like they did the same thing the Cubs did in Game 5, where they looked nothing like what they've been with the plate appearances, nothing. So, which is great. I was so excited to watch it happen. Them just be so aggressive, swinging at first pitches and things like that, not even working the count. It was awesome. I was telling these guys off the air, I really thought it'd be hard to root for the Dodgers, but I think I have that much hate and disdain towards the Brewers that it ended up being a little bit easier to actually root for the Dodgers, because I despise the Milwaukee Brewers, and I don't care. I mean, I will say that it is a rivalry now for sure, and they flew the L, which was the dumbest thing ever, but that'll forever be a great picture that we could share amongst final scores, anything.
Yeah, I'm glad they did it. I'm glad
Yeah.
they did it. They gave us this piece of material to use for a lifetime now. And yeah, just go ahead and be dumb like that. They could have easily just done the W flag and there would have been a
They-
better troll job.
They could have. I saw something where I guess they could have flipped the W flag over, and it would have been an M, and that would have been pretty cool
That would
too.
have been cool too, yeah.
So they they just don't know how to troll, but that's neither here nor there. Any final thoughts on the way that series played out, and anything you wanted to say before we move on to what ended up being a very solid season for the Cubs?
At least for the series itself, like going down 2-0 and fighting back and getting yourself back in the position to give us something to cheer for, to watch in that Game 5. I was still super happy to see that with the way the series started like. And unfortunately, I think what the year it turned out to be was you didn't have the home field advantage. And that series really turned into a home field advantage type of series, which is weird to say when we've always called it Wrigley North. But I think that's the one takeaway too that I have is maybe we can't call it Wrigley North anymore since they won all 3 games in Milwaukee in the postseason. And, obviously we don't like the Brewers and whatnot, but that's one piece of respect that I can give them is that they did take care of business when they needed to on their home field and during the season to put themselves in that position to where it was such a factor. I mean, the Cubs have home field advantage. If it's at Wrigley, I think that Game 5 is a different story. And that was really my big takeaway, I think, after Game 5. And it just sucked to have to admit that, I think.
Like, yeah, anyone else? Final thoughts on the series? I agree, Joey. It does suck to have to admit that, but they brought it. They brought it. They matched the energy. I think what they saw with those 2 games at Wrigley was that they'd have to do something like that because our crowd was electric. I mean, we all know how it gets there, but man, it felt different. And I thought that maybe they could carry that magic into Game 5. And they just fell on their face. And to me, that's what the most disappointing part about this was. But I think it's really a microcosm of the way that the season went because they could have ran away with this division at many points of the year. They could have really just put the pedal to the metal, and they just didn't. They fell flat many times, especially in the second half. So it's kind of a microcosm of how things went. But, gentlemen, moving on to the Chicago Cubs 2025 season. I asked you to put it together into one sentence of a reaction of how the season went. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. What I said was that the 2025 Cubs season was a wild, emotional ride filled with growth, heartbreak, and glimpses of greatness.
I like
I
that.
will start with you, Joey.
So I think you said one sentence here. I put better than expected, slightly better than projected. So for me, I didn't have them quite winning this many games in the regular season, and Pacoda had them projected at 91 wins and third best in the majors behind only the Dodgers and the Braves. They finished 92 and 70. So really, Dakota was pretty damn close to being spot on, and I was pleasantly surprised that they were record-wise better than what I thought. But I know that's not one sentence, so sorry. That's what I put.
That's okay. No, that's great. That's awesome. Rich, how about you?
I think the 2025 Chicago Cubs were memorable. We haven't had this type of season in a while. You know, in the 2020s, in this Jed Hoyer era, we've not cracked 90 wins. This was the first year. And there was a lot of memorable moments that happened this year. I'm going to get into a couple of them later, but one of them that comes to mind is like the first half, like Carson Kelly's cycle, the comebacks against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, things like that. Like they scored double-digit runs 12 times in the first half. It was an awesome season from that perspective, the first half offense. And then you just had like some incredible single-season performances. Cade Horton, obviously. Seiya Suzuki cracked the 3,000 mark. PCA took a massive step forward. Bush, like there was just some good stuff. Like just looking back at the stats, it's like, yeah, that was a solid season. That was really good. So yeah, I would say memorable.
Nice. And Bobby?
Well, the 2025 Cubs, in my opinion, were a series of unfortunate events that were entirely avoidable for a team that hadn't had this type of magic since the 2015 team. There were a lot of parallels to 2015 with this up-and-coming roster that they could have supplemented at the deadline. They chose not to. The Kyle Tucker injury, they dragged a long time in the second half before putting him on the IL, when you could have just put him on the IL, added that extra bench spot in games that you needed maybe some power, like Moises or somebody in AAA that you could have used. It was a lot of things that were maddening to a team that had that magic formula to it, and just they ignored it and did not let it grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and in the comments, just throw in there some sentences or reaction of how you thought the season went. Scott C. here from Iowa says, the 2025 Cubs were exactly who we thought they were, and they let the Brewers and the rest of the league off the hook, not dealing at the deadline. And I agree, and I think a lot of tonight we are going to mention the deadline. I think that was a turning point in the wrong direction for this team for sure. And it's going to be interesting as we get into it, everyone's opinion on it, because although you still made the playoffs and you arguably didn't have to sit while, the Milwaukee was sitting, you were playing significant games, you still didn't have the opportunities that Milwaukee had with home field advantage and things like that. It really played in their hand and would have played in our hand, especially with Wrigley Field. So I definitely think we're going to get into that for sure. But just also a defining moment of this season. What we're going to go around and talk about defining moments, things that we saw that we thought this is a special team. And I'll start first. For me, it was an awesome day. It was America's birthday, 4th of July. Firework after firework after firework. Bush emerging into like this greatness of we always knew that he was great, but he just solidified himself in that game, and it was against the Cardinals, which is even better. It was a moment where, for me, it just felt like this team is different. This team has moxie, mojo, and all the M's going into the second half of the season. And though I may have been wrong, it still was a really cool point and a really great moment. So that is my moment.
Would you say it's different here?
I would say it's different here for sure, Joey. 100%. Yeah, so that's going to be my moment. Again, in the comments, throw your defining moment of the season. We'll put it up here. We'll discuss. But I'm going to go to Rich for his defining moment.
So I kind of tackled this one in a different way. I think a defining moment in this season was Justin Steele going down with his injury. That's kind of an injury that could have really derailed things, but the momentum, at that point, the offense was able to kind of keep the team's momentum going. And they were humming at that point and able to overcome and still eventually win 92 games. But I think more importantly, that injury led to Cade Horton getting called up eventually. And we all know what happened there. He put together a Rookie of the Year campaign and cemented himself as a power starting pitcher in the rotation, probably for years to come. So, I think if that doesn't happen, Cade Horton doesn't get called up until later in the year. Maybe he doesn't have the type of season he does. Probably what doesn't win Rookie of the Year or be a finalist for Rookie of the Year at least. So I don't know. I think I kind of just look back on that and like, man, losing your ace in the beginning of April really could have screwed things up, and especially for the fact, we touched on it. They didn't add any starting pitching at the deadline, but I don't know. That's just one of the things that came to mind for me.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it was very much a defining moment. This didn't have to be positive. It could also be negative. I mean, you're right. It's a defining moment. So for sure, I like that one. Bobby, how about yours?
I'm probably going to say that I believe it was in April, that Dodgers series at home. I was actually there for one of those games, and it's just felt so much more of like a lively team. They had a deficit against the Dodgers. It was really that time where I noticed, okay, they're not just going to roll over. They're actually going to contribute and be memorable here. I got to see a Kyle Tucker home run. I got to see them bounce back. That was the one with Vidal Brujan. I think he was the game-winning scorer in extras. I was at that game. Crowd was electric during a weekday, and that's when I pretty much realized, okay, this team might actually have some oomph to it if they just let it grow and just keep going on. So that's really the time where I'm like, okay, this isn't an 83-win team. This is something that's going to be better. So
Nice. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And Joey, how about you?
Well, that's actually kind of what I had too. Was I was thinking about the Arizona game when they blew the 7-1 lead, and then in the top of the eighth, giving up 10 runs, and then they scored 6 in the bottom half and won the game 13-11. Then just a few days later, that like Bobby was just saying, that Dodgers series, they blew a 7-4 lead over the Dodgers, fought back, won that game 11-10 in extras, swept the Dodgers in that 2-game series, and then between those games and then the Milwaukee series in Milwaukee in early May, when they took 2 of 3 over there, I thought, okay, this team's special. Like, this team's different. This team's got a shot to run this division this year. Obviously, that didn't turn out to be the case, and credit to Milwaukee, they didn't let that cripple them, and then they ended up going on a 2 or 3 extreme heaters and were hot throughout the season, but for the most part. But that's when I thought the team was special, was that kind of that stretch from like April 18th to, mid-May or late May. But I think the defining moment for me this year, or when I realized they weren't quite ready too, was when Cade Horton got hurt, actually. Because, Rich, you made a good point about Steele getting hurt to start the year, and they didn't let that. I think they didn't let it define them, and they just, that could have crippled them completely, and it maybe wound up biting them in the ass later on in the year. But when Horton went down after how good he was, I thought that was just an absolute, all right, this team might not be quite ready. And it just gave you a real nasty feeling going into the postseason. And we all know how it turned out, but that was the real crippler, I think, for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that was a crippler too. I think that had Cade Horton have been healthy, you probably win the series with Milwaukee. I really think you do. And that's what really sucks. And we could go back and forth all night long about the ethics, the whatever you want to call it, the possibility of pulling a Bush League move and saying, well, Ben Brown was warming up and he pulled something yesterday in the bullpen, and Cade Horton's going to start Game 5. We could do that, whatever.
Or Ben Brown sprained his ankle pulling his pants up in the locker
There's
room.
weird injuries all the time. Like, I don't understand why we couldn't just do it, but I really think things would have been different had that have happened. I mean, don't get me wrong. The pitching didn't like implode, but he is a dominant force. Like,
Cade Horton himself got injured in a weird way, right? With like sneezing or whatever, coughing
because I guess it's a myth that he inhaled the cigar, but I'm not putting that past him. I bet he did inhale a cigar.
We've seen guys smoking and playing
inhaled a
baseball.
cigar, it's not pleasant. So I mean, I could see the coughing happening from that. So maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe that celebration really was the demise of the Chicago Cubs because they fell apart after that. They really did. Just completely off the rails after that celebration, swept by the Reds. And
never forget the coma in Cincinnati that they went into.
that was bad. If next year you win and you want to celebrate, but you're going to be facing Hunter Green maybe just like delay the celebration. Maybe just delay that. You don't want to be playing him hungover. If they've learned anything about that. Scott from Iowa puts Cubs are 0-6 after drinking champagne. Yeah,
Jesus.
It was really bad.
I think the most annoying part
no,
is they lost that game 1-0, and Colin Ray had 7 innings and 11 strikeouts.
Yeah, like career high, right?
It was like a career game for Colin Ray, and the boys just did not show up. They're like, sorry, boss, we're a little fucked up today.
Yeah.
Colin Ray's like, I didn't drink. I knew I was playing the next day. Everyone else is like, well, fuck you, Colin. Let's go.
Colin's like, I showed up, dude. What the hell?
There's just the bad peer pressure friends trying to get him to drink, and he's like, I'm going back to the hotel, guys. Sorry. Well, we
got biggest moment / accomplishment here from Scott was the process of figuring out the bullpen. That is a big one. Early on in the season, it would be really funny to pull the clip of me just losing my mind over the bullpen. But I was freaking out over the bullpen very early on, and they put that to rest very quickly. The bullpen ended up being nails.
I mentioned this in one of the previous shows, but I think a really pivotal move was going with Brad Keller and adding him to the roster at the beginning of the year. I mean, they took a chance. They were rolling the dice even after he had like a decent spring training. Nobody knew that he was going to have this kind of, renaissance season like he did, like a 2 ERA, below 1 whip. I mean, they might not even make the playoffs if Brad Keller wasn't on this roster. Just think about it. He had 25 holds and he became the closer down the stretch. Like that was, I think that is one of the defining moments too, just taking a chance on Brad Keller. And obviously he took the opportunity and ran with it. But, I don't know if that was a combination of the Cubs pitching lab, making adjustments for him or just him figuring something out, but probably a combination of both. That was a hell of a move and paid off dividends, obviously, except for like one game in the playoffs with a fucking strikeout gate against the Padres, but whatever.
We don't count that.
Yeah, that was a mulligan. Whatever, we'll give him a pass for that.
It's interesting here. Darren puts in the comments, and this is a very interesting one about a defining moment, and I think we can get into a little bit of discussion on this for sure. He said, I said at preseason, Cubs needed one more stud starting pitcher, consistent bat that can play first base, third base. Can't count Tucker as an addition as we lost Bellinger, 2 relievers, one proven closer. I think losing Bellinger, and if you look at what Bellinger did this year compared to even what Ian Happ did this year,
he's coming back next year.
It's pretty wild, and I mean
that's a possibility, man.
I wouldn't hate it, man. I would not hate it.
I wouldn't
Isn't
hate
it crazy
it
after a fucking salary dump though that he might be an option? Like,
come back, yeah.
They literally traded him for peanuts. It was nothing.
Yeah. It was nothing. It was just a salary dump.
No, it was Cody Petit. Got DFA'd like before.
Yeah, and there's another guy that they traded for nothing that has I'm going to say it's probably not a possibility, but could come back as well. But I'm not going to mention the name. Just I would love it.
Hold it close to your vest there.
Yeah, I think everyone knows. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. But
Yeah. Well, honestly, yeah, I think losing Bellinger was bigger than what we thought. And like mid-season, I was about to do an article that probably would have really shook things up. And now I can talk about it because the season's over, comparing Ian Happ and Cody Bellinger. And it was crazy, the difference. Cody Bellinger just blew him out of the water. And everyone, we love Happ. Of course we love Happ. He's a great Cubs player and everything like that. But to have that bat in your lineup, if you have Cody Bellinger in your lineup, it's a completely different season. Like it is, just based off of what he did with the Yankees. And of course you can get into, well, he was at the Yankees park, but still he was very productive for them. So I think we were missing one extra bat for sure, especially for as those lulls in the offense came. You just needed one more consistent bat in that lineup.
Yeah.
We got to think.
I mean,
wasn't Seiya?
No, go ahead, Joey.
No, my bad. I was just gonna say, wasn't Seiya on pace for like 40 home runs plus too? Like that. I know he got really hot towards the end of the season, but like if there wasn't that cold stretch between a lot of these guys, like between the Tucker injury and him not having the protection in the lineup too, I think that was a chain reaction effect. It wasn't necessarily just well, this guy hasn't been producing, this guy hasn't. Well, I think there was a lot of reasons why guys weren't producing, or guys were producing even to career levels like Seiya, and it just made the whole dynamic different when everything was clicking. It felt like everything was clicking, and when there was one key cog in the wheel that was off, it felt like it was really hard to string it.
Seiya's slump was honestly like really consequential, because even when Tucker was slumping with that injury, he was still walking a ton, and he just wasn't getting driven in by Seiya. I mean, Tucker finished the season with 87 walks, eighth in the NL, tied with Happ. Yeah, to your point, Suzuki was on pace for like 130 RBI season and just flunked it out in the second half. So, I mean, doesn't take away, like, say it's still finished with like an amazing regular season, right? But that was
a good postseason too.
Yeah.
Yes, but
he really was keyed. I mean, the Cubs don't get to the DS without him, obviously. But
to be fair, there was a stretch there where basically everybody was slumping in the lineup. So it's not only his fault, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's honestly what killed us, is those stretches where everyone was slumping, where early on, like certain guys would slump, like, PCA would be doing bad, but then Tucker would be picking him up, or vice versa. And then it just got to the point where everyone was slumping, like you said, Rich. And that's really where things went downhill very, very quickly.
I think all along, too, that's why when we would get on these shows a lot, I would say, and we would talk about it, of course, was I had a little bit of hope, even though there was, that you knew they were lacking a starting pitcher. They needed at least one more. You knew maybe they had one bat that was off, but I had a little bit of hope was, hey, if you get in and you're the top seed, you got a shot, because these guys have been cold for such a long stretch that maybe all these guys get hot at the right time. And you saw it even with Michael Busch get hot towards the end of the season and carry into the postseason. So there were at least two guys that were, starting to feel themselves. Of course, Nico, that was a season-long thing, but that's what gave me a little bit of hope, man, was like, all right, maybe they could power through this. But all it takes is that, when you're in a 5-game series too, like there's no room for error. And I mean, you just can't, you need better in that game 5.
You do. Yeah, 100%. Before we get into the core and the future of this team, just a quick lightning round here. Favorite Wrigley moment of the season. It can overlap of what you just said. Favorite Wrigley moment of the season. I'll go first. Mine was that Ian Happ's just insane catch in left field against the Padres. I don't know if you remember that one, but holy crap.
We were there.
Yeah, it was insane.
Was that opening day or the next day? I can't remember. Or Wrigley.
Third day? I don't remember which day.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was one of the most insane catches I've seen in person, though. I think it was, right? That second.
He flipped over. It was amazing. It was completely left his feet towards the foul line. I thought he was going to die in the wall.
What wasn't it his like historic milestone game or something? 1,000th
Was it his 1,000th game?
game too, I think.
Yeah,
I want to
think
say
so.
it was.
Yeah.
I'm about to double check this. My bad. Didn't mean to cut you. That was a crazy catch, though, Nick.
Yeah, it was a crazy, incredible catch there. That's mine. I'll let Rich go while Joey's looking that up.
Yeah, for me it was game 4 of the NLDS. I was fortunate enough to be in attendance for that. Shout out to my brother Paulie for hooking that up. So yeah, that was definitely the most exciting game I've ever been to, maybe ever will. I went into it just being like, I just want to see a postseason home run. I want to see Wrigley rocking. I got to see 3. So that was electric. Probably Kyle Tucker's last home run as a Cub. Got to see a Bush bomb. And then, of course, Ian Happ's 3-run homer in the beginning, which from the angle that I was sitting, he hit it directly at the moon, and I lost it in the moon. And I was like, that's not, no way. Like, that's a fly. And then it just sailed out. I was like, it's a fucking moonshot. Oh, my God. Literally a moonshot.
My bad.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, Bobby, how about you?
This is going to be another game I was in attendance for, but it's that Sunday night game against St. Louis around the 4th of July where they just absolutely pummeled Eric Fetty. I think they took him out after the first or second inning and just did not look back. That was quite an entertaining night to be at. So
I love that. Yeah, before we get to Joey's, we have a couple in the comments here. Scott from Iowa. I love this one. Rizzo missing the Mo Baller home run on Rizzo Day.
That's a really good one.
You stole mine, Scott.
That's awesome.
Of course, Nick would go to him before I get to say it too.
Yeah, there you go. It's like I knew, Joey.
Fucking Scott.
I was giving you some extra time to compose yourself.
Yeah, right. I'm also kind of already irritated because I should have been at that game and I didn't end up going to the game. But neither here nor there because we would have been in the bleachers sitting left field, 100% certain of that. So it's like I am very,
Salty.
Anyways, I'm a little salty about the entire situation.
Scott from
That's a
Iowa
great one,
actually brought up another good one. If you see in the chat, I forgot about that. Where they caught it on live TV.
Oh, the balls.
Yep. That's a great one. Yeah, those are 2 great ones. I love the Mo Baller home run. Like the odds of that going to Rizzo that day were it's amazing. Right to him too. And then Darren puts watching Turner and Santana playing dominoes in the dugout. There's more of the whole, Turner and Santana. Like why do that when you had other spots that you could have had more competitive guys, but that's not part of the lightning round here. But yeah, great moments there, for sure. Going into this year, the team definitely evolved from opening day. From John Birdie, Vidal Brujan, Pearson, Julian Mayweather. You guys remember Ryan Presley? Like,
how about Gage Workman?
Yeah,
they're Gage Workman.
Eli Morgan.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's never ending. The team certainly evolved. And I just want to open it, to the floor here. What did you guys think of the moves that were made throughout the season? One thing that just stood out to me right off the bat was the Matt Shaw move early on, sending him down so he can get right, and then bringing him up pretty quickly after that. I thought that was pretty defining, obviously, as we were platooning third base and it was not going well at all, going from that to now Matt Shaw being a Gold Glove finalist at third base. So that's my one move, but there's so many to talk about. I'm just going to open it up to the floor.
Yeah, I think it was. We've talked about it quite a bit, but the guys that were relied upon in that bullpen or thought of to be main guys in the bullpen, like Porter Hodge and Presley and Merriweather and Nate Pearson and all those guys that you were like, oh, these guys are going to be the staples of the pen, and none of those guys turned out to be the staple of the pen. And the way that everything kind of shook out with the Pomeranz pickup, and Palencia growing into a dominant reliever, and
Chris Flexen too.
Flexen, how many great innings did Chris Flexen give you for a while there? Which that was like unreal. The stretch he was on, like not even giving up a run forever too, like Pomeranz. Yeah, that's a great call. And then Vidal Brujan and John Birdie and those bums for a while that we had to put up with. Like the Kittredge trade I thought was huge too, in the second half, and how much that changed the dynamic of the bullpen. And you guys have talked about today or already earlier with Brad Keller being as instrumental as he was. And I also thought that the call-ups, like they all had their moments as call-ups too, like outside of just Cade Horton's call-up and how good he was, of course, but Casey had moments, Mo Baller had moments, Kevin Alcantara didn't get too many moments, but he obviously got a little bit of a taste this year too. And I really think too, the one guy that we didn't look at, or we haven't talked too much about, but we have, for weeks now, and that's Colin Ray, who wasn't even in the rotation, is just kind of a depth guy. You don't know what to do with him. You're thinking maybe Javier Assad at some point comes in, and he did, but Colin Ray was really the Javier Assad role this year for the most part. And, how good was he as far as just giving you innings and quality, and really surprisingly turning into somebody that, can we pitch him in a postseason game? Like those are the conversations that we were having about, like, should he be making the start? And who would have thought that on opening day? I would have never thought that. So I know that's a lot of guys who just ran through, but yeah, the way this team like evolved from opening day, it always does every year, but it was pretty wild this year too.
Colin Ray is such a good one. I mean, the rotation really would have been screwed if Colin Ray wasn't on this team. 159 innings. I mean, he kept the Cubs in so many games. He gave them so many chances to win games. That's a really good call. And I'm just glancing at his stats. They are so freaking similar to what he did last year. It's crazy. He had the same amount of games started as last year, 27, but 32 pitching appearances in both years. The same batting average against, 258, almost the same whip. Sorry, I'm just nerding out on the stats. But Colin Ray's a good one. Reese McGuire, I think, is another really good one. He really stepped up and
just hit bombs.
So in his first game, he hit 2 on the road against Cincinnati. And you're like, okay, all right, Reese McGuire's he's ready to take the opportunity. But just like locking in to this pitching staff and being good backstop for, he was the backup catcher almost the whole year. So I don't know. That's a really important one. And I just on a general note, the young guys kind of solidifying themselves as a core, PCA, Bush, Shaw. These guys are poised to be in the Cubs lineup for a very long time, and they're all good defenders. Swanson's going to be there for a while as a great defender. Nico hopefully will be here for a while. So you kind of you feel comfortable about the lineup. The only question mark is obviously replacing Tucker's production and right field /DH, but everything else is like, you feel decent about it. So yeah, those guys taking steps forward was pretty instrumental as well.
Nice. Yeah, Bobby, anything to add on there?
Well, I was going to do the Reese McGuire angle. I thought that was pretty crucial given Amaya's injuries. And boy, that one game he comes back. I think it was a game or two after his comeback, and then he gets injured again. So that was brutal. That was brutal.
Yeah,
but I liked the contributions, like we were all talking about. It was always just a ragtag group of guys for a while where it was, okay, who's going to step up now? Because I even remember when they got Pomeranz. I'm like, this is just another bargain bin dumpster dive. I'm like, he'll see him in about 2 weeks. So, and then he just latched on from there, and it's just They can. That's one thing that I can't be mad at when they don't spend money on the bullpen. Granted, I'd like a highly paid closer, but like everyone else around him, I'm fine with how they do it because they have the magic sauce, the magic touch when it comes to finding those leverage guys that you can get in the 6th, 7th, and 8th, like out of thin air. I've never seen any other team do this. So just wish they could do it like Milwaukee when it comes to hitters, but
Yeah, I agree.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take that. You got to build off of it because it seems like they truly can do that consistently, and that's like their niche. And if you can take that and translate it to offensive side of things, you'll be great because you like to do those cute little moves with offensive players too. It just doesn't translate the same way that it does with bullpen arms. And Scott puts a great comment here. Pomeran's not giving up a run the entire first half of the season. Just insane stuff.
He
Like,
was just so good, man.
he just does not. We're never going to be able to give him enough credit for this season.
We could talk about how, we were questioning the decision to start him in that game 5 and all that. And, maybe he shouldn't have been. Obviously, if we had the depth, we had somebody that they felt like was if J-Mo could have went 1 or 2 innings, that's the best option to me. But what he did this season, the one thing that I feel like we need going into next year is just give me like a Chris Coughlin guy, give me a Tommy Edman guy, give me that bench guy that can just doesn't have to fucking play and can, when he plays, he produces. Like, I need somebody like that next year. We didn't get that from Willie Castro at the deadline, and
Tommy
that was another
LaStella.
Tommy LaStella, yes.
Tommy LaStella,
Yeah. What did I say, Edmund? I meant LaStella. Did I say Tommy Edmund?
Yeah, you did say Tommy.
Oh God, I hate Tommy Edmund. Sorry, I meant Tommy LaStella or Talkman even. Yeah,
those guys. I talked about that early on in the season.
Matt
I think I wrote
Caesar.
an article about the bench.
Matt
Caesar.
He was fun for a while. Yeah,
I said the bench severely was lacking, and it really did show late in the season, especially when you need to make moves. There really wasn't guys on the bench to make a move to that you felt confident in. And I mean, like Rich brought up, to the credit of these young guys, they really solidified themselves in the lineup. And without them, there really wasn't another guy to turn to be like, well, I'm confident in this guy over at third base that rather than Shaw. You just always would pencil in Shaw in the lineup.
Yeah,
there.
Shaw taking a step forward is so huge because there's just there's no other option basically.
No, there's zero.
Free agency is so bare for third base. It's crazy. Like, other than Bregman, but we saw last offseason, they're not going to sign Bregman, especially.
No, they're not.
He's going to look for more money this year. Like, that's not happening.
I'm still infuriated by the decision to sit him in certain points when he was on a heater and we're playing Willie Castro.
I know.
Like, when you have a chance to make up ground and, against the wasn't he sitting one of those games against the Brewers that we were all like, what the hell
we
are we
all
doing?
were saying, what the hell is going on? Yeah, we all were like, why is Willie Castro there?
Yeah, they're getting a little crazy with the matchup stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I get it to an extent, but sometimes it's like, dude, like, can you just stop?
Yeah, the whole Turner instead of Bush at the top
sitting
of the
Bush,
lineup.
sitting
Yeah.
Bush against
Sitting
lefties.
Bush.
Like, dude, okay, he's never going to be good against lefties if he's never playing against lefties. Like, what?
You don't give him a chance. Yeah,
come on.
He hit one in the postseason off a lefty, at least one.
Exactly. This is a great sidetrack comment here, and I want all of your opinion on it because I was admittedly, when the first roster of the postseason came out, I was pulling staples in my new house in the floor, and I heard that the one guy that I was expecting really to be on the roster was not there, and it was Javier Assad.
Yes.
I don't
it's
get that.
so puzzling to me.
I remember, I don't know who I was on. Like, I said, he should start game 1.
He should have started. Yes, he should have started. I don't understand why he wasn't on the roster. I don't understand why Ben Brown was on the roster and Javier Assad was not on the roster.
Again,
you switched those two guys.
matchups.
That's the matchup thing. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it could have been way different if you had Matthew Boyd starting game 2 on full rest, Shota starting at home on full rest. Because, I mean, starting Boyd in that game made Shota start on short rest too.
Tracy puts enough with the matchups. Drove me nuts. Yeah, the
I
matchups.
agree,
are,
Tracy. The fuck?
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to have feel. You gotta feel.
You need a
Screw
little.
the analytics. This is America's pastime. It's a feel type of thing.
You need a
Craig
little Joe
Counsell kinda
Madden
pisses me
magic in
off.
your decision making.
Yes.
Yeah, put Wood out in left field, Travis Wood out in left field every once in a while, you know?
Put Pomerantz out in center.
With all seriousness, though, the matchup stuff gets a little way out of hand at times. That is infuriating.
Yeah, that was what bothered me with Pomerantz starting Game 5 with the matchups. It's like, if you're gonna do that, why not field bar?
Well, it didn't even make sense anyways, because it was like, okay, you're going right. Wasn't it Churio that led off, right?
Yeah.
So it was
Yep.
righty, lefty, righty. So he had two
Yeah.
righties and three batters. It's
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, Pat Murphy already knew it was coming, so he took Yelich out of the spot.
yeah. That's another thing
Yeah.
with the opener stuff that I'm like, well, can't the manager just counter his lineup? Like I don't. The opener thing to me, we go down a whole rabbit hole. But
Yeah, we could talk all night about the opener because I'm kind of on the same page with you, Joey. It's just it seems like 50% of the time it works, 50% of the time it doesn't. So why not just throw in your starter and just like I don't get it. I get that they don't want him to face the lineup for the third time. I get all that. I'm not stupid, but it's just I don't know. We can't get into the opener talk or we'll be here all night.
yeah.
But I mean, one thing we did touch on were those young guys, and I just want to stick to that because the steps in this offseason that Matt Shaw, Pete Crow Armstrong take are going to be crucial for next year. I mean, like offensively, obviously defensively, both of them are fine. But what are they going to do to adjust themselves so that they can at least put up a consistent offensive performance in the next season? Because both guys really had their own struggles. I mean, PCA was doing so well in the beginning of the season. I just thought he was never going to revert back to what he was. And then he started swinging at crap. He was popping everything up. He looked terrible. And then Matt Shaw was getting on really, bad streaks as well offensively. His glove kind of is what kept him in the lineup and not having anyone else behind him. But what steps do you think that these guys need to take in the offseason? Does Justin Turner need to come and be a coach? What needs to happen? What juice do they need in order to be contributors next year?
Justin Turner might be the bench coach because we're probably going to lose Ryan Flaherty.
I can see Justin Turner, yeah.
Wouldn't hate it.
I mean, yeah, I feel like Shaw just needs to find some kind of consistency. He doesn't even need to hit home runs. It'd be nice if he did, if he had a power stroke too. He had like a 20 home run season next year. That'd be cool. But yeah, I don't know, man. He just needs to find consistency. Same with PCA. PCA needs to just shrink his strike zone. He needs to take some tips from Nico Horner. I mean, he is swinging at way too many pitches. That is his problem. Because the thing is with him, if he just takes a little bit more walks, that would help so much. I mean, him on the base paths is a game changer. So yeah, that's his issue. Shaw, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any ideas how they can change?
I think they just need to really recalibrate this roster around them, because having guys like Ian Happ, I've been done with Ian Happ for a very long time. Your left fielder's not supposed to be a guy that doesn't really hit for power as much. I want a guy who's hitting them over the fence, because you have enough of those guys that hit for average, that get on base. You have Horner. You're having an ascending guy like Shaw, who's not really known for his power at this level. You need to trade a guy like Happ, given that he's only got 1 year left, and then go out into free agency, take some of that allocated money that they like to preach. Oh, we traded Bellinger, so we're going to take this magical salary that we never did anything with, and we'll just add to this roster. But like Happ, and then in the rotation, if you got to decline Shota, do it, because you kind of locked yourself into a good group of guys, but you don't have that like bulldog besides Steele. You need some outside help. A guy that actually throws hard for velocity, enough of the junk throwing pitcher like Wrigley. So yeah.
You brought up something there that I have a question for you guys before I talk about those guys. You think Shota bounces back next year to closer to his norms and how he was most of the year towards the end of the year?
We don't even know if Shota's going to be on the team.
That's a good point. I know, like
I
Bobby
don't know
said,
if he's gonna be on the team. Yeah, I feel like
that's a consequential decision that, up until recently, it's like, oh yeah, it was like a foregone conclusion. Shota's going to be back, and now it's like, do they pick up this 3-year option on him? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, one thing that comes to mind is like, there was a point in time where it's a no-brainer where Shota Imanaga is starting Game 5 of the NLDS, and they didn't because they didn't trust him. And it was the right decision. I'm not saying
no
wrong,
one complained about
it was
it.
the right one.
The fact that we got to that juncture makes it not a foregone conclusion that they're picking up that club or that player option on him or team option.
Here's why I asked that question, because I'm wondering if there were some lingering things from the injury from this year that turned him into how bad that he turned out for a while, because he's always had some issues with the home run ball, but he also was allowing more base runners than normal, and that was the biggest problem with the home run ball. So I wonder if it's the right move to move on from him or not, because I think you still can upgrade the starting pitching staff with not getting rid of him. But, we talk all the time about money, they have plenty of money. Well, you could just go out and get somebody and keep him too, but that is a commitment if you're sticking with him for 3 years. So it is a very hard decision that the front office is going to have to make. But like what you're talking about, though, with PCA and Shaw, I think for sure PCA just needs to learn how to lay off, because it wasn't even just towards the second half of the season. The difference was in the first half and most of the season, he was hitting the balls that were out of the zone.
Yeah.
And then, he wasn't hitting those balls, and all of a sudden he's striking out on them or rolling over or whatever the case may be. And, you just can't have enough of that, or you can't have too much of that in your lineup. And like, ideally, I think him and Shaw, what they bring to the table, like with Dansby being kind of more of a strikeout hitter that has some power, at least from shortstop. He's not an on-base guy, but like he can give you a little bit of thump. Like you're saying, you would think that would kind of fit well with the on-base guys like Hap and Nico and whatnot. But Tucker leaving also drops off one of your on-base guys who, yes, he's a thumper, but he's definitely a high walks guy and get on base guy. So the thing I like too about, like, if you were to give that spot to Casey, is he's also been an on-base machine in the minors, but does that translate to success moving forward next year? I don't know. Like, we haven't seen enough of it in the majors yet, but I'd say for sure. I mean, Shaw was like one of your best hitters in the second half of the season. So it's like, if he can continue that kind of momentum, and eventually he was going to cool off a little bit, and he did. But and same goes for PCA. I think the heater that he was on, he was bound to cool off, but he cooled so far off that it's like, all right, man, you're pressing, stop pressing. I love what he had to say in that Players Tribune article and stuff. I love his passion and I love his electricity, but at the same time, like, you need to be able to hone it in a little bit and just like do the daily grind stuff. It's like, it's one of the qualities that I wish he could absorb from, I don't want to say Zen like, but like a Turner or even Ian Happ, who we criticize for with like, hey, what do you mean you're just going to get your everyday at bats? Like, I think what he meant by that was like, I'm working, like, I'm going to get the opportunity to get out of this, and I will get out of this, is kind of how I took the quote on that. And I think sometimes you need that kind of like level, even keel mentality, even when you're struggling, instead of like riding this wave of like, oh my God, yeah. Like when it goes lower, it's harder to bring it back up again. And so that's one of the things that I think PCA really needs to work on going into next year is like just grinding out the difficult times and not letting it get to him too much. And I think he's going to be great. I mean, he's already great. I mean, he's the highest WAR player on the team. And when he's right, this team's just totally different. So that's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah, no, exactly. All great points. All great points here. Bobby, I'm going to give you an opportunity here. And do you have any final thoughts? I know you got to hop out of here a little early. Any final thoughts on the season that you want to deliver or on the future for these Cubs?
I mean, looking at what Jed Hoyer had to say, it wasn't really too awe-inspiring about how they're going to attack next season. So, like I said, they had all that momentum. It seemed like 2015, but just it doesn't seem like they're going to really kick it into that next gear. They kind of seem resigned to, okay, yeah, we made the playoffs. See how close we got against Milwaukee? We can do that again. We don't need to add anything to this. We'll do what the Diamondbacks and the Rangers did a couple years ago, because more playoff teams, the more you get at the Apple. So I don't know. This offseason is just going to be kind of disappointing in my opinion, but I'm always the pessimist. So who knows?
You got to have one. You got to have one. Well, thanks for joining tonight, Bobby. It was great to hear your voice here. You take it easy, man.
Yep.
See you, Bobby.
Guys.
Later, Bobby.
Bye. Take care, guys.
Yeah, so one thing that and Darren puts this in the comments, one thing I think that we forget is the catcher, output that we got this year from Carson Kelly. The career season that Kelly gave us was huge. And early on with the bombs that he was hitting, the game-changing bombs, it's something to definitely mull over, because is he going to be the same Carson Kelly next year, even though you will have Amaya back, who will most likely be your primary guy? Will he still have that same thump in his bat? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect him to, right?
No.
Let me see. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this was like he set a career high in RBIs, almost tied his career high in home runs, 17. His career high is 18. I mean, it's just the past few seasons you look back on his like OPS and stuff, like this is the highest it's been in years.
Yeah.
So like you can't expect him to be that guy year over year as a catcher, right?
Yeah.
I think the only catcher you can expect to have good offensive output year over year is like Cal Raleigh, but he's a unicorn. Hopefully Amaya coming back next year will be the starting catcher, and Carson Kelly is back to being like the backup catcher. But yeah, you can't bank on Kelly having another like 17 home run season.
No, definitely not. Enjoy anything on that?
No, I would almost put money on it that he's not going to have the same season.
Yeah. No, he's not.
Yeah, and that's what frustrates you, I think, even a little bit more, is like the fact that they got that kind of like outlier production from some guys like Kelly, for example, and you weren't able to fully capitalize on it. And that is that it. He cooled off too. I mean, he had a cool off period where then he brought it back, but he had a really great season from a guy that you're not expecting to do much. So I was thrilled with his production, though.
Hit for a cycle.
Yeah, hit for the cycle.
Unreal. I know.
He had did he have 2 home runs during that?
It was that Diamondbacks game. He hit 2 home runs.
The Diamondbacks game, that's right.
Yeah, the comeback when the bullpen gave up 10 runs.
Yep.
Yeah. His home run, I think, put us in down 1, and then Tucker's home run put us. I think about that game quite often.
Yeah, and then the Seiya one right after Tucker.
Yeah, that game was incredible. I think that was when I was like, "Holy moly, this game has some juice in it, huh?"
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
that
fun.
Tucker home run specifically. I'm like, man, that's That might be the manliest home run I've ever seen in my life. Holy crap!
It's so weird because
lefty, no doubt moonshot. What?
yeah, it's crushed, and it's so weird because it's like you wish you got more of that from Tucker. You wish you had more moments like that, but then you also kind of feel like, but how much more painful would it have been if he was just like the best player on this Cubs team, carrying you all throughout, and you only get through to the DS and then you lose him? Like it would.
It was really funny listening to Jed Hoyer's press conference earlier because they were asking him about Tucker. Like they had to ask him about a Tucker possibility of him coming back, and it's like you could just feel every single person in the room knows exactly what's going to happen. Like everybody knows he's not coming back, and Jed Hoyer had to sit there like a politician, like he does, and just be like, we love Kyle Tucker, blah 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 blah. We would love to have him back. That's the same. Like you've seen one Jed Hoyer press conference, you've seen them all. Like that's
true.
You know what I mean? But I don't know.
If you knew he wasn't going to come back, like if you truly understood that, and I know they would never have done this, but if it was me and I was a video game manager, just in this spot, I would have pulled him and put in Mo Baller. That's what I would have done during the playoffs.
Oh no, I wouldn't. I couldn't do that.
No,
like,
you leave Tucker in,
just like permanently in the lineup. You mean? Is that what you're saying?
No, game five. Game five.
Oh well, no, because he just had a great. Was it game 4?
He had a home run in game 4. He was like
4 out of 5
walks
on base. I think I wouldn't. I couldn't do that.
No,
I think he just failed. He just failed. I think.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like he didn't just fail. He looked flat, like he didn't care.
Yeah.
Like
you know what I mean.
Everybody
in
in
the
the lineup
work.
did though. Except for one swing of the bat from Seiya, like everybody looked flat in that game.
And
true.
that other hit from Seiya, I thought for sure. I thought when he hit it, I'm not gonna lie, I thought he hit it out.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, well, it's at least getting down, and that didn't get down, and that fucking sucked because he did his job in that moment too. And then
somebody hit like a screaming line drive right at the third baseman too. Was that Nico?
I think it was Nico. He had a couple.
Nico, yeah.
There was just a lot of stuff going wrong for the Cubs in that game, and every time it happened, I'm like, Jesus Christ, we're losing this game, aren't we?
Yeah, and it got late very early too, so things just didn't go our way. But moving on, like we talked about, bringing Tucker back is probably not going to happen. But if you guys had a move that you could make tomorrow, and I asked you this to come up with a move, I have mine. I have a feeling that we may all have the same move. We may not. I may be wrong. But if you can make a move tomorrow to go get a guy, any guy you want, who would it be? And I will start. It is Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah.
You go and you get Kyle Schwarber.
It would just be so perfect.
It'd be the best thing in the world.
I mean, you need to replace that production in the lineup, right? And who better? He's not going to cost that much. He's going into his age 33 season.
Yep.
He's going to have like a 5-year, $150-ish million contract. That is so affordable for the Cubs. Like even by the standards that they operate by right now, that is so affordable. Their projected payroll right now is like $186 million. After like arbitration numbers and options and shit. Like they are so far below the CBT, they can sign Schwarber and still have tens of millions of dollars to play with. It's crazy. Are they going to? I don't know. That's a good one. I don't know.
I think that, one thing that we're going into the season, and I feel it sucks Tyler couldn't be on this episode because one thing that he wanted to talk about, I know he did because we talked about it early on, is the fact that he thinks that they're going to play a lot on this 2016 team and rely a lot on the nostalgia of that team rather than putting, a better product on the field. Nostalgia. Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, that's a
there
good point.
Go.
That's nostalgia for you. Make the signing.
There you go.
Dude, even like us, like everybody would be on board. Like,
oh yeah.
Who doesn't want to see 50 home runs at Wrigley Field?
Dude,
come on, man.
And Schwarber, of all people, we love.
Yes.
Yeah. And you don't think he'd be playing his heart out for the Cubs, like come
Like that-
on.
Dude.
That's the main question is like, how salty is he about getting non-tendered? Like that is,
That
You know,
is
I've
true.
heard, so that's a good question, but I have heard him talk about this too in interviews, and he said, you know, I wasn't. It was the best thing for me to leave. It wasn't a good time for them. You know, they had to make some tough decisions, and it actually helped me get better as a player too. And it it proved like I'm kind of verbatim. It's
yeah.
not exactly verbatim or what he said, but
Sure.
paraphrasing here. But like I think he's kind of okay with it at this point because I mean, look how much success he's had since he left, and I mean, he knows Wrigley faithful. Like the Cubs fans love him, and I think he's got a lot of love for a lot of the guys that are in the Cubs clubhouse and
That's true.
throughout the organization still. So I think I wouldn't put it past him. I think he might be really open to a comeback here.
It would be one of the coolest things if I get that notification this offseason that's happening.
I can't wait for those Jeff Passan tweets.
Yeah,
bro.
if I get a Jeff Passan, Kyle
Oof.
Schwarber, and the Cubs are in agreement, I will freak the fuck out. I will
That
lose my mind.
passing bomb.
I will lose my mind if that happens. He's the one guy that like it's my dream this offseason. It's just my dream. Honestly.
Passing Schwarbaum. That'd be
Yeah.
amazing. Can I shout out a couple guys that I would like to?
Yeah, go for it.
I know this is like the injury history and stuff that kind of has me questioning it. And he had some issues this year to get a pinched nerve in the shoulder. No structural damage, but he's got high upside. Only 31 years old. I would really like to see Michael King in a Cubs uniform. I think the Cubs working with him too can elevate his game even more. And I think that the Padres are not going to bring him back. And I would love to see that move. What I could see the Cubs doing, though, is somebody like Zach Gallen on a short-term deal. And, as terrible as he was, I know, Nick, I know.
Honestly, wouldn't hate that.
As
I
terrible.
would.
So this is why I don't hate it. As terrible as he was in the first half, he still nearly threw. I mean, he 200 innings almost on the year. He had a 3.97 ERA in the second half, improved to in the second half from the first half, and then 3.32 ERA from August through September. And we've seen him be a stud in the past too. It wasn't like, I mean, really this season is it's pretty much the outlier year. And I could see the Cubs just him using the Cubs to kind of boost his own value a bit in the open market. And it actually maybe paying off for both sides, the Cubs and him, where I wouldn't call it a reclamation project, but maybe because we
get right contract.
Yeah. A rejuvenation type contract or project. So I wouldn't hate that depending on what the cost is, I guess, with Zach Gallen. Obviously, you want to see big name studs they can go after, but there's a lot of questions where if you have Schwarber, right, you got him locked into a DH spot, then what do you do around it? Because it's like, do you want to give Owen Casey a spot? Do you want to give Mo Baller a spot? Where does he go? You're gonna have to move somebody. Do you move Hap? Can you move Hap? I mean, we got all sorts of questions on this roster. The one area that that you can and should improve, just like at the trade deadline, is the starting pitching staff. So
Yeah.
Sorry.
How'd that go?
I think for me, it's like Dylan Cease. Like any three of those guys, Michael King, Cease, or Zach Gallen, would fit the bill. You need a more strikeout heavy, right-handed power pitcher type guy to pair with Cade Horton, and then also to complement your guys like Matthew Boyd and Tyone, who are more pitch to contact dudes. I would like to see any three of those guys. Dylan Cease would obviously be cool because he was our top pitching prospect at one point. Obviously, we traded him to the White Sox in a deal that didn't, really turn out well for us in the long run, but it's a deal you make every time. One of those three guys, I just have trouble like believing the Cubs are going to sign like a big name contract this offseason. Just with with the negotiations looming next offseason.
Yeah, that's true.
It's it's very weird. This is such a strange off season. Like I'm anticipating a lot of like short term deals, even though you have so much payroll flexibility. You just are coming off of a postseason run. You had the third highest revenue in the league last year. That's probably going to even increase even more since you had 5 postseason games at Wrigley Field this year. They have the money to spend this offseason, and they should. But are they? I don't know.
It's
I-
tough with that lockout.
It's
coming
hard,
in.
yeah, with the lockout and to project what this era of the Cubs are going to do, because they're always, seemingly looking for those cost saving measures. One thing is for certain, they're going to have to do something about the bullpen. Like, they're going to have to sign a couple of arms, because everyone except for Palencia essentially is hitting free agency.
Yep. Yeah, Darren
Oh.
put 3/4 of the bullpen free agents. Yeah.
Keller, Pomerantz, Thielbar, Savali, Mike Soroka, Ryan Brazier. It's like Taylor Rogers. Obviously a couple of those guys you're fine seeing
Yeah.
leave, but
You'll take Nate Pearson and like it.
did he get DFA'd?
I don't know. They
I
could
think
bring
he
him back
did.
on
Because I
the
think it was one of the
nothing
guys we
contract.
mentioned earlier. Yeah.
Bring him back on a nothing contract and see
Oh,
if he can
nothing
actually
deal.
throw strikes for once.
I wouldn't mind them signing Brad Keller. 'Cause-
Yeah, he's
Wow,
obviously
that'd be
the
great.
guy you
Yeah.
like hands down want to see come back.
And
Right?
Pomeranz too. I just feel like Pomeranz, and I don't want to feel this way, but I do. I feel like there could be some regression with Pomeranz, but yeah, I might be wrong.
Porter will
there's
be
a
here.
shame.
Maybe Porter gets back on track too.
True.
That's one. But
I mean,
yeah,
there's
I would
obviously
love
there's going to
Keller.
be internal guys that come up and make noise, but yeah, I just it's hard to project the bullpens, right? Because like
Yeah,
even at the beginning of spring training, we had an idea of the bullpen, and like we were talking about earlier, it's just like completely transformed over the course of the season because they are so good at just these reclamation guys, bargain bin type guys that they just turn their careers around. So I'm sure there will be at least 2 more examples of that happening next season. But yeah, still, I would like to see them sign 1 or 2 arms.
You know who we won't see? Emmanuel Clase.
And he will not. Thank
We
God
will
we
not.
didn't trade for that guy. Jesus.
sounds like we'll never see him again.
Man. Sorry, Ron, because he really wanted Clase. What nobody knew that this was gonna
For
be
sure.
happening.
He really did. Yeah, I mean, Daniel Palencia, I will say, is now taking a major step, especially in the postseason, showing what he could do with multiple innings and stuff. I mean, he could be your guy in the back end of the bullpen next year. He very well could be.
That's
Yeah,
one
that's a
thing I
good
do
point.
question though, is like, with Kittredge.
Yeah. I mean,
Darren says Kittredge has an option for next year, but it's for $9 million.
yeah. I mean, I feel like the Cubs never pay relievers that much money.
Yeah, that's a lot for a Cubs
But
player.
with all these guys hitting free agency, you might need to pick up that option just out of like necessity, and you have you have the payroll flexibility to do that too. I don't know. That's an interesting one. I would bring him back. He was pretty good.
Yeah. The one thing I question with Palencia is I like how he's emerged, obviously, and turned into, and he's still he throws really hard. We know that slider, the splitter. He's got 3 pitches that when they're right or when he's using them all, he can be really good with. But I do question I think that splitter would be huge, even though he's got the heat. I don't think it slumps as much as a guy like an Albert Alzolay, but with how fickle bullpens are, like we've talked about forever, you saw the downfall of Porter Hodge this year. You saw, just random after being really good last year. Can we rely on that from year to year? And that's always the thing I go back to when it comes to relievers is like, I don't know if I want them to invest heavy in a reliever if they're only going to give them so much money, even though they have the flexibility. Like, I would rather see that invested elsewhere because they can find a random guy on the street like Pomeranz and make it work, like.
Yeah,
If
Yeah.
I'm picking,
Put
if
the
I'm
money
picking.
somewhere else. Yeah, no, I get that. I mean, if they have to do that, why not? Then you
I
have
mean,
to.
you don't even have to go out and sign like Robert Suarez or something. Like there's a bajillion relievers hitting the
Mhm.
market. You can go and get anybody. Yeah, I mean, my point, like they just need to sign somebody for the like
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be like a closer, but
Just fill the spots.
yeah,
There are some decent names though. Like you said, there's a lot of guys that are going to be that are free agents. So
Yeah, there's quite a few that are hitting the market. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting offseason to just see how it all plays out.
I'm trying
It's-
not to judge them like until it's over. Like I don't know what they're gonna like. They gonna sign like in my opinion, you need to sign one of Bellinger, Schwarber, or Tucker.
yeah,
But
you have to.
and Tucker is obviously not coming back, so it's like Bellinger, or Schwarber. It just
I would
seems
give,
so
I would give
unlikely.
Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yeah,
just
Schwarber's
seems,
got to be your number one option, and if you miss out on Schwarber, then you got to go get Bellinger.
but I mean, so many other teams are going to be in on Schwarber too.
Oh yeah, everyone's gonna want
Everybody.
Schwarber. It's gonna be turned into a bidding war for Schwarber. I mean,
Yeah.
it very well could.
Like the
He's-
second the price tag goes up, their Cubs are going to be out of that.
Yeah, the Cubs would be like, we're good.
But
That's
you
what's
know,
so
they did
infuriating.
make the mistake of thinking that he wasn't worth it the first time. Do they make the mistake again, or is Ricketts just like, you know what? It's Kyle Schwarber. Do it.
I would,
I would
I
like
would
to
be,
think
I
that's
would
how
be
he was
stunned.
doing, but
I
that's
hope.
not how he is.
Yeah,
It's not how he is. I know. I'm
No.
just saying.
I would love that's like my magical fairyland world where it's like, yeah, that's Kyle Schwarber. Go get him.
Right.
Yeah,
that'd be us saying that.
Yeah,
not-
that's what
That
we
would
would
be
do
us.
if we were Tom Ricketts.
Not Ricketts. Well, you know, there is a reunion that I want to see too. But I've been saying it for years. He's actually been. He had like a 1 or 2 bad years since he left, but the last couple, I think he's been pretty damn good. Go ahead and bring back that Albuquerque gas station attendant, Andrew Chafin. I would like that. He'd be cheap too.
Get back Andrew Chafin. He would be cheap. He's a nice option.
I
Yeah.
forgot which
You
publication
need that
said
guy in the
this.
bullpen.
They were writing about Chafin one time, and it was like he's the human personification of an Italian beef sandwich. Like that's perfect. That is absolutely perfect.
I saw, who did somebody say he's like a 1990s or 1980s or 70s tops card or something?
He does look like he's just straight out of like the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a 2.41 ERA this year in 33 innings. He was probably hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
Bring him back.
Bring him back.
I would like to
We
see it.
we got Daniel Valencia from that trade, from trading Chafin to the A's.
Yep. That was a
Got-
big one. Yeah.
Got a chance to double up on it then next year if you bring him back.
Pull up. There you go. Any other off-season moves you guys would like to see? I'm sure we'll be back on the mic talking about it, but right off the bat,
Nico
anything-
Horner.
Oh yeah, yes, and that's something that in my final thoughts I was going to talk about because we didn't even talk about Nico enough tonight. He was
He's a badass.
amazing. Yeah,
Mhm.
He is
was an-
truly badass. Like,
You
Mr.
have to
Consistent.
yeah. You have to extend him.
I mean, yeah,
He's a
he does
first guy.
everything at an elite level
Yeah,
except hit home runs. Like he's a 4-tool player, and
he's
it's
amazing.
I mean, unbelievable control of the strike zone. His baseball savant page is disgusting. If you really want to nerd out, yeah, extend him to like a 5 or 6 year contract.
Yeah,
Have him
I
play
agree.
second base with this core. He becomes like the leader of the clubhouse eventually. Like he's already a leader. You know,
when's Dansby's contract up?
Ooh,
Is
like
it
5
2020?
years from now?
I
4
think he's
years?
got 4 more years. 'Cause
Yeah, I
it was
thought
a
he had
7. It was a 7-year deal. This was his 3rd year,
third year. Yeah, oof.
so 4 more seasons.
Yeah, 4 more seasons.
Yeah, I mean, lock up Nico, then you have everywhere solidified except for right field, basically. for years, and left field because Happen say are both going to be free agents after next year.
You know,
Yeah,
one
you
thing
gotta lock
about
up Nico.
one thing about Nico, I always think about when I think about him, and it's weird because I know he like lost some respect from Cubs fans, of course, after he left. But Marcus Stroman, when he was like on live, like during one of the games, and he's like, "Look at this guy, another rocket. He's unbelievable," or something like, "Look at this guy, another rocket." It's like literally that is Nico Horner personified. Look at this guy, another rocket. Like he's got the
He's got such a
glove.
smooth swing. The bat just stays in the zone like so long. Like anything there.
Dude almost won a batting title.
Yeah.
He was so close
thought
to
he was going
300
to.
for the year too, man. I wanted to see him
99th
get it.
percentile in strikeout percentage. He struck out less than almost everybody in the league.
Yeah, and his whiff rates like is 99.
Same
too.
thing. Yeah. Oh my god. He's
The
so
only
good.
thing, the one thing I've always said this though too is the walks could be better, but like if you're putting contact on the ball as much as you are,
Yeah.
like the only issue I have with him not walking is sometimes I felt like he would. This was more years past than this year specifically, but I feel like he'd take him. He'd put contact on the ball, but it'd be bad contact on the ball, and where if he laid off, you put yourself in a better position. I mean, that's getting very nitpicky for a guy that's like a perfect ball player. But
Sure.
yeah,
I agree.
He's just a stud.
yeah,
Stud
is.
player.
put it lightly. Yeah.
Which I mean leads us into our final question, and we'll go around. And I'm sure one of us will have him in there. Who is your MVP of the Cubs 2025 season? Mine is Nico Horner.
That's why he said that. Huh?
Yeah.
Joey, are you going with Bush?
Oh man, that's what I was gonna go with. Yeah, I think it's easy to say the guy with the highest WAR could be MVP by like just everybody across the league looking at PCA as your
Sure.
MVP, but I feel like it was Michael Bush from the consistency and then the 4 postseason home runs that he hit. And I'll say too, the guy that I picked another one on the pitching side of it. I went with Brad Keller. I think guy came out of nowhere, obviously, who I was saying the Cubs should try to look at him for a while now. So made me look like an absolute genius this year. But basically gave you nearly, 70 innings this year and in whatever role he was asked to be in, the fireman role, the closer role, guys on base, you bring him in for a big strikeout. He'd get himself out of his own jams when he'd walk guys on bases or get him on base. But yeah, I think Brad Keller was my pitching MVP. And then Bush on the offensive side. I know I didn't like specify. It's supposed to be probably just one MVP, but yeah. Who do you got,
You
Rich?
give your MVP and your Cy Young.
Yeah, right. Well,
Yeah,
Kid Horton probably still needs to be in there, I guess. But yeah.
For the sake of being different, I'll go Matthew Boyd. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
I talked so much shit about that signing last offseason. I was like, this is gonna be a shit show. But man, he really was the ace of this pitching staff for the vast majority of the year. It was only really the like mid-August when his shoulders obviously was like showing signs of fatigue, it seemed like. But he got them to that point and carried the rotation through, injuries to Steele, obviously. Shota was out for a while. Tyone missed a lot of time. Through all that, Matthew Boyd was every 5th day taking the ball and giving the Cubs a great chance to win. So, I mean, 179 innings pitched, nearly a career high. He was fantastic this year. So kudos to Matthew Boyd for proving me wrong.
It's me too. He proved me wrong. Big
Yeah.
time.
I think he proved us all wrong for sure. Well, this was fun going over the grind of 162 games and a postseason, a brief one, but still a fun one. Any final thoughts on this season or the postseason?
Well, Boyd also pitched really well in Game 4 of the NLCS.
He did.
Not in
Clutched
Game
up.
1, but that was more the Cubs.
Not in
That was-
game one.
That was more the Cubs putting him in a bad position. not his
Yeah, he
fault.
shouldn't have pitched on short rest. That was a terrible
Yes,
move.
But
Yeah.
4 2/3 of shutout ball, 6 strikeout. He was electric. He was on that night. So
Yeah,
that's my final thought.
I love that. Joey?
I can't even say it was a terrible move because I said I thought maybe they could go that route. Remember beforehand that for game one?
You did
Because he didn't throw that many pitches. So I was like,
You
well, it kind
said
of makes
that,
sense. Like, so I would have been the person that everyone's blaming right now because I was thinking, yeah, Boyd would make sense in game one. But anyways, hindsight 2020 on everything. But final thoughts. I mean, yeah, I just think that this team, like, if I had one sentence for it, like the Cubs were gritty. They were gritty. I mean, they were entertaining, fun. They had passion this year. It was cool to see. Like, it was a good group of guys to root for too. I don't think there was a guy on the team that I was like, fuck this guy. I think they all brought something a little bit different. And like the stories of, like the guy you just talked about, Rich, Matthew Boyd his grandpa being a, Cub fan forever. And just, all these different, I'm trying to think of the other guy now that was getting pretty emotional in the postseason, but I can't think off the top of my head, but there's just so many cases there where it's like, man, I want to see these guys win. Like it's not even just me, the Cub fan, wanting my team to win, which of course, but they had a good group of guys. And I think that needs to be celebrated just as much as the season as a whole, even though it didn't end the way that we wanted to. But I think that they gave us something to really pay close attention to when other years it's like, all right, they're kind of hovering, they're here, they're there. We're going to pay attention regardless, but it had a little extra meaning behind it. And, I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the effort that they put in for the whole season. Even when the bats were slumping, it wasn't because of lack of effort. I think the bats go cold, and their bats went cold, and that ended up being their downfall there. But yeah, I love this season. This goes into, probably one of my favorite years from a fan perspective of, I mean, like we've said, they went farther than they've gone since 2017. And that alone has me pretty excited for what can be if they make some improvements this offseason.
Yeah, I feel the same way. This team was very fun to watch. Overall, like you said, Joey, I mean, like there wasn't a guy on this team that I was like, I don't like him. Like they were great group of guys that you were hoping would get a little bit farther, but still, it was a great season, and they were just fun to watch. I think that was the biggest thing that stood out for me. Is they were just really a fun team to watch. I'd want to be in front of my TV to see them every time they were on because they're just a fun team, and you never knew what was going to happen with them. Like they could be down, 10, 11 runs and then come back. Like they still had that in them. So towards the end, like you said, I mean, the bats, they go cold, that happens, and things just kind of fell in the wrong direction. And that's just baseball. It's 162 games. You never know what's going to happen. And this is how it played out. But it was a great season, and I am looking forward to next season. I have a lot more optimism from this season for next season, even though, we talked about some of the things that's going to happen with like, the bullpen and different pieces and whatnot performing the way that they did. I was the same guy that said they caught lightning in the bottle this year, but I really do think that they have a solid group of guys that are going to do really well next year. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to breaking down each game again with you wonderful gentlemen. This was a very fun year. Thanks to everyone that's joined in on the comments today and all of our other games and shows. It's been awesome. So we really appreciate all your support. I do want to tell everyone where they can go to find our content. You can go to ontapsportsnet.com. Go check out what is on tap. The Bears they're making us hopeful again. We are just hopeful. Bears fans, as always, it's been fun. It's been a fun series or season so far. Bears on Tap. Go check them out. Great content over there. They work hard. Blackhawks have gotten started. Go check out the Blackhawks boys, Four Feathers over there. They do really well. Chicago Bulls in their preseason, but they're ramping up for their season starting soon. And yeah, we have other stuff like we have beer coverage, we have golf coverage, all the coverage. Go check us out on ontapsportsnet.com. Go check out what is on tap. And if you get yourself an obvious shirt here, use our code ONTAPSports to get 10% off your orders. You support them, you support us. It's a great, helpful support system there. So,
Nick, not to cut
Joe,
you off. I see
Joe.
you're wearing the I'm allergic. Can you hear me?
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I'm
No,
allergic to St. Louis.
Yes.
Do they have an I'm allergic to? Does Obvious Shirts have an I'm allergic to Milwaukee? Because I think that's
They
the
should.
one I want to get.
They should. I don't know if they do. Admittedly, this is a very old T-shirt when the St. Louis Cardinals were actually relevant. Now they're not.
Ooh.
So this is kind of
Whoops.
outdated, I would say. Because I agree. You need one that says I'm allergic to Milwaukee. So I'll have to check on that, Joey.
Didn't mean to cut you off on that, by the way. I just, while you were
No,
talking,
you're
I'm like, what Obvious Shirt do I want next? I'm looking at yours. I'm like, that'd be a good one.
We might have to talk to Joe, see if he can make that happen. Because I agree that this needs to be replaced with Milwaukee. Because, like I said, get a relevant team on the shirt there.
Sorry for them.
I'm not sorry. I hate the Redbirds, the Fugazi Cardinals.
Wouldn't it be so St. Louis or Cardinals though for them to just pop out of nowhere next year? Like no one's expecting it, and all of a sudden their voodoo
It
magic
be.
is back. But the Milwaukee has that voodoo magic feel to it now, though.
They have
That's
the
the problem.
voodoo uke magic for sure.
I think the Cardinals need at least 2 seasons of Keim Bloom.
They're gonna need some time. Yeah, that's for sure. Well, gentlemen, what do you say we get out of here the only way that we know how on this final wrapping it up season show?
Fuck Milwaukee.
Yep. Want to see them lose.
That other team is irrelevant now. So,
Yeah.
FTB? Fuck the
FTB.
Brewers.
FTB, and always, let's go Cubbies.